Ocean's 8 is a new heist comedy film directed by Gary Ross, and it is a heist comedy film that takes place in the same universe of the Ocean's 11 franchise. You guys remember Ocean's 11, Ocean's 12, Ocean's 13 with Matt Damon and George Clooney and the crew? Yeah, this takes place in that same universe, so it's kind of a spinoff. It takes place after all of those, though. This one has a pretty solid ensemble cast as a part of it. You've got Sandra Bullock, you've got Cate Blanchett, Anne Hathaway, Rihanna, Helen Mirren, or Helen, what's her name? Helen Bonham Carter, I think is her name, among other people. Sorry if I messed up her name. Like I said, it's a heist comedy film, and what is the heist? Diamonds. That's what they're doing. Debbie Ocean, who is the sister of Danny Ocean from the other Ocean's movie, she is trying to organize a heist in this film to steal some diamonds from this really fancy Met Gala. She assembles a crew to do just that, to try to steal these diamonds, and so that's the plot of the movie. It's really simple. I will say that I was a fan of the original Ocean's 11 film. I love the way Steven Soderbergh directed that film. He did produce this film, so I'm glad that he was involved with this project in some kind of way. This film is somewhat of an entertaining fluff piece if you're talking about heist movies. Definitely some enjoyment to be had here. Not a lot of enjoyment, but there is enjoyment scattered throughout this thing. For one thing, I thought the crew in this movie did a really good job. I thought they all performed their roles capably. Nobody's really special or stands out or anything, but for what they were asked to do, I thought everybody was solid. Everybody was fine. I will say that Sandra Bullock and Cate Blanchett are probably the two best parts about this movie. They're the two best characters. They have the most screen time. You feel the most towards them, I guess. I'll also say that they are both really, really beautiful women. Their facial structure is like perfect. It's kind of weird actually looking at them. You guys notice that their cheekbones are like perfectly symmetrical or some shit? I don't know how they ended up with such perfect ass cheekbones, but they just do. They look like they were sculpted from alien marble. As far as the rest of the crew, the only one that I was kind of worried about going into the movie was Rihanna. I'm not really that impressed with her as an actress. Although, if she's gonna be rocking dresses like this for the entire movie, I mean, how good an actress do you really need to be? In this movie, she pretty much is just a hacker, and she doesn't really talk that much, so I thought that she was fine in that role. They didn't really ask her to do that much. The actual planning of the heist was pretty cool because I thought the crew had decent camaraderie, and the actual meticulous stuff that went into executing and planning this heist was kind of entertaining to watch. This movie also had a pretty kick-ass soundtrack. There's some really interesting song choices that they use. In almost every scene in this film, when they're trying to transition into a different scene, they pick one of those songs from the soundtrack and off we go, and that's how you know we're about to transition into a new scene. Sure, it got kind of irritating after a while, but it would have been more irritating if the song choice wasn't that good, but again, this is a pretty good soundtrack, a soundtrack that I actually wouldn't mind owning. And for a guy who doesn't really pay attention to this kind of stuff, the costume design and the fashion and the outfits were also a highlight of the movie. I thought most of that shit looked really good. Unfortunately, I felt like a meh emoji watching this movie. There's really nothing about this movie that made me invested or made me care. I felt a big bowl of indifference after I walked out. Part of that is because the characters in this film are kind of hit or miss. Outside of the fact that they made the entire crew female and they gave them all these different roles and stuff like that, I didn't really gravitate towards any of the characters. None of them really stood out to me, so when they were going through their heist shit, I didn't really care whether they succeeded or not. Sometimes for a good heist movie to work, sometimes it would help if you felt a little bit more invested in the people that are actually pulling off the heist. I'm just saying. Can we do something real quick? Can we just be childish for a second? That picture of Rihanna, good lord. Can we just keep that picture for the rest of the review? Like, I'm just going to be childish for a second. I'm going to leave the picture up. If you don't like it, I mean, you could just be mad at me and look at the picture, man. But that is fucking art right there. That is fucking art. My other issue with the film is the way that the dialogue was written. I think that this script for this film deserved maybe another rewrite. Some of the dialogue and some of the scenes that they wrote came off as very dry, very stilted, very bland. I think a film like this that's trying to be as fun and stylish as it is could have used a little bit more of that snappy, witty dialogue that you would usually see in a movie like this. As a result, I feel like there are large portions of this movie that are missing some of that fun that you had from some of the other films in the Ocean's franchise. The heist itself, I mean, the planning of the actual heist is more interesting than the heist itself. The heist itself feels like everybody just hit an easy button. There's really no stakes or tension that are involved when they pull off this heist. You never really feel like they're in danger of, like, not getting the job done. It was a pretty easy job. I never really worried about whether they were going to pull it off. And when you have an easy-ass job and it's just diamonds, which we've seen 1,000 times before, it would actually help if you had an antagonist in the film or some kind of villain character who made things a little bit tough for the main character. This movie doesn't really have an antagonist at all, so ultimately I felt kind of bored. It's very similar to the original Ocean's 11, and it's a diamond heist movie, and diamond heist movies are a dime a dozen. We've literally seen hundreds of thousands of them. The problem is you've seen a whole bunch of other heist movies done way better than this. I mean, this is pretty much your standard issue heist movie, and I can't really recommend anything about it other than than the fact, hey, you like Kate Blanchett, or hey, you like Anne Hathaway? Sure, watch the movie. You might get some entertainment out of it. Ocean's 8 is as average gets, and it's gonna go into the Fortress of Solitude. I would definitely say if you're a fan of the Ocean's franchise, you should check it out, or you should just keep looking at Rihanna, because who wouldn't want to look at that, right? Hey guys, so have you seen Ocean's 8? What's your favorite film in the Ocean's franchise? Let me know in the comment section below. Please like and subscribe to the Superfan Show, and as always, if you like what you see, tell me how you feel, and stay tuned to hear more from the Man of Steel. Peace.